The rain tapped a mournful rhythm on the attic window, each drop a quiet echo of loss. Ethan Harper sat cross-legged on the dusty wooden floor, surrounded by cardboard boxes and the faint scent of lavender that clung to his late Aunt Clara's belongings. At 19, he was no stranger to grief, but this was different. Clara had been his anchor, the one person who saw past his guarded exterior, who understood the weight he carried without ever asking him to explain it. Now, she was gone, taken by a sudden illness that left Ethan reeling, alone in her old Victorian house on the edge of Willow Creek. The attic was a time capsule, filled with relics of Clara's life. Yellowed photographs, vintage dresses draped over mannequins, and stacks of leather-bound journals. Ethan's fingers brushed against a small, ornate wooden box, its surface carved with intricate roses. It was the only item mentioned in Clara's will, left specifically for him. His heart thudded as he lifted the lid, revealing a folded letter, a silver key, and a single photograph of Clara in her youth, radiant in a flowing emerald gown, her smile both knowing and secretive. He unfolded the letter, his breath catching at her familiar, looping handwriting. My dearest Ethan, if you're reading this, I'm no longer with you, but know that you are always my heart's joy. You've spent your life hiding, my sweet boy, but I saw you, the real you, the one you're too afraid to let the world know. I've left you this house, my savings, and a request that may seem strange, even impossible. I ask you to live 1 year as the person I know you are, the person you've buried beneath expectations and fear. You'll find everything you need in the chest by the window. The key unlocks it. Trust me, Ethan, even when it feels like the world won't. This is my final wish, for you to discover your truth. With all my love, Clara. Ethan's hands trembled as he set the letter down. His truth? What did she mean? Clara had always been cryptic, her words layered with meaning that unfolded slowly, like petals in spring. He glanced at the photograph again, noticing now the way her eyes seemed to pierce through the image, as if she were watching him even now. The silver key glinted in the dim light, cold against his palm as he stood and crossed the attic to the heavy oak chest by the window. The lock clicked open with a soft, deliberate sound, like a secret being whispered. Inside, Ethan found an array of items that made his stomach twist. Delicate silk blouses, skirts in soft pastels, a pair of elegant high heels in midnight blue, and a velvet-lined box containing a wig of cascading chestnut curls. Tucked beneath was a small envelope labeled "For your first day." His fingers hesitated, then tore it open, revealing a note in Clara's handwriting. Start at Willow Creek High. Wear the blue dress and heels. Be brave, Ethan. You'll understand soon. His breath hitched. Wear a dress? At school? The idea was absurd, unthinkable. Willow Creek High was a small-town school, its halls filled with judgmental eyes and whispered gossip. Ethan was a senior, known for his quiet demeanor, his faded jeans, and his knack for blending into the background. To walk in as what? A girl? The thought sent a shiver down his spine, not just from fear but from something deeper, something he couldn't name. He sat back, staring at the open chest. Clara had never been conventional. Her life was a tapestry of bold choices, from traveling the world to opening her home to anyone who needed it. But this was beyond anything she'd ever hinted at. Ethan's mind raced, piecing together memories. Clara's gentle teasing when he lingered too long in front of her vintage mirror, her stories of people who defied norms to find themselves, the way she'd watch him with that knowing smile when he helped her mend her old dresses. Had she seen something in him he hadn't? The rain intensified, drumming against the roof like an impatient reminder. Ethan's gaze fell on the blue dress, its fabric shimmering faintly in the attic's gloom. He reached out, his fingers grazing the soft material, and a strange warmth spread through him, like a memory he couldn't place. He pulled his hand back, heart pounding. This was madness. He could ignore the letter, sell the house, move on. But Clara's words echoed in his mind. Trust me, Ethan, even when it feels like the world won't. He spent the night sleepless, pacing the attic, the letter and photograph never far from his thoughts. By dawn, the rain had stopped, leaving a misty quiet that felt like the world holding its breath. Ethan stood before the chest again, the blue dress and heels laid out like a challenge. He thought of Clara's life, her courage, her unwavering belief in him. Could he do this? Could he step into her world, even for a moment, to honor her? The clock struck 7, and the school day loomed. Ethan's hands moved almost on their own, lifting the dress, the heels, the wig. He didn't know what he was doing, only that he couldn't turn back, not yet. Clara's wish was a mystery, but it was hers, and that was enough to make him try. He slipped the dress over his head, the fabric cool against his skin, and stepped into the heels, wobbling slightly. The mirror in the corner reflected a stranger, a figure with his face but softened, unfamiliar, vulnerable. His heart raced, fear and curiosity warring within him. He grabbed his backpack, the silver key now on a chain around his neck, and stepped out into the foggy morning. Willow Creek High was a 10-minute walk, but it felt like a journey into another world. Each step in the heels clicked against the pavement, a sound both foreign and strangely grounding. What was Clara leading him toward? And why did it feel like she was still with him, guiding him through the mist? The fog clung to Willow Creek like a veil, softening the edges of the world as Ethan approached the school. His heart pounded in rhythm with the click of the midnight blue heels against the sidewalk, each step a reminder of the line he was crossing. The blue dress swished faintly around his knees, the chestnut wig brushing his shoulders, its curls catching the damp air. Ethan's reflection in a shop window had startled him earlier, a stranger with his features but transformed, delicate yet defiant. He clutched his backpack strap, the silver key around his neck a cold anchor against his racing pulse. Clara's words looped in his mind. "Be brave, Ethan. You'll understand soon." Willow Creek High loomed ahead, its brick facade unchanged since Ethan's first day as a freshman, yet now it felt like a fortress guarding secrets he wasn't ready to face. The parking lot buzzed with students, their laughter and chatter slicing through the morning mist. Ethan slowed, his breath shallow. He could turn back, slip into jeans, and blend into the crowd as he always had. But Clara's letter, tucked into his backpack, felt like a weight pulling him forward. This was her wish, her final wish, and he couldn't betray it, not yet. He adjusted the wig, tucking a stray curl behind his ear, and took a deep breath. The school doors were just steps away, the glass reflecting a distorted version of himself. A group of juniors lounged near the entrance, their eyes flicking toward him. Ethan's stomach twisted as one of them, a lanky boy with a skateboard, squinted in his direction. "Who's that?" the boy muttered, nudging his friend. Ethan kept his gaze forward, his heels clicking louder now, a defiant metronome. He pushed through the doors, the cool air of the hallway hitting him like a wave. The main corridor was a chaos of lockers slamming and voices overlapping, but as Ethan stepped inside, a ripple of silence followed. Heads turned, eyes widened, whispers sparked like static. He felt their stares like pinpricks, some curious, some mocking, others unreadable. A girl with pink-streaked hair paused mid-conversation, her jaw dropping slightly. Two football players by the water fountain exchanged glances, one stifling a laugh. Ethan's cheeks burned, but he kept walking, focusing on the rhythm of his steps, the way the heels forced him to move with deliberate grace. "Ethan Harper?" The voice was sharp, cutting through the murmurs. Ms. Delgado, the history teacher, stood at her classroom door, her glasses perched low on her nose. Her eyes scanned him, not with judgment, but with a piercing curiosity that made Ethan's skin prickle. "Is that you?" He nodded, his throat tight. "Yes, ma'am." His voice came out softer than he intended, almost unfamiliar. Ms. Delgado tilted her head, her expression softening into something Ethan couldn't decipher, recognition, maybe, or pity. "Well," she said, adjusting her glasses, "you're certainly making a statement. Come see me after class if you need to talk." She turned back to her room, leaving Ethan rooted in place, the weight of her words lingering. The day unfolded like a gauntlet. In English, Mr. Patel barely glanced at him, but the back row snickered as Ethan took a seat, the dress brushing against the desk. A note slid onto his desk during math, scribbled with, "What's with the costume, Harper?" He crumpled it, his fingers trembling. Lunch was worse, a crowded cafeteria where every glance felt like a spotlight. He sat alone at the edge of a table, picking at a sandwich, when a familiar voice broke through. "Ethan, what the hell?" It was Jamie, his best friend since middle school, sliding onto the bench across from him. Jamie's eyes were wide, his usual grin replaced by confusion. "Is this a dare? A prank? You didn't tell me anything." Ethan swallowed, the key around his neck suddenly heavy. "It's for my Aunt Clara. Her will. She asked me to do this." The words felt inadequate, exposing too much and too little at once. Jamie leaned back, eyebrows raised. "Clara? The lady with the crazy hats? Okay, but why this? Why a dress?" His tone wasn't cruel, but it carried an edge of disbelief that stung. "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "She said I'd understand. I have to try." He looked down, the blue fabric catching the fluorescent light. Jamie's silence stretched, and when Ethan glanced up, his friend's face was unreadable, a mix of concern and something else. Maybe doubt. "Dude, people are gonna eat you alive," Jamie said finally, his voice low. "You know how this place is. Be careful, okay?" Ethan nodded, but as Jamie walked away, a knot tightened in his chest. The cafeteria noise surged back, a wave of laughter and whispers that felt aimed at him. He stood, smoothing the dress, and headed for the bathroom, needing a moment to breathe. The mirror reflected the same stranger from the morning, but now her. His eyes were wide with something between fear and defiance. He splashed water on his face, careful not to smudge the subtle makeup he'd attempted after finding Clara's old cosmetics in the chest. The door swung open, and Ethan froze as Tara Mitchell, the school's resident gossip, stepped in. Her eyes locked onto him, a smirk curling her lips. Well, Ethan Harper in heels. This is going to be the story of the year." She pulled out her phone, snapping a photo before Ethan could react. "Wait till everyone sees this." "Tara, please," Ethan said, his voice cracking. "It's not what you think." "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like," she said, already typing. "You're trending by tonight, sweetheart." She sauntered out, leaving Ethan gripping the sink, his reflection wavering in the mirror. Clara's words echoed again. "Trust me, Ethan." But trust was hard when every step felt like walking into a storm. The final bell rang, and Ethan hurried out, avoiding the lingering stares. Outside, the fog had lifted, but the air felt heavier, charged with the weight of the day. He slipped into an alley behind the school, his heels unsteady on the uneven ground. There, leaning against a wall, was a folded note tucked into a crack, his name scrawled in Clara's handwriting. His pulse quickened as he opened it. "You've taken the first step, my brave one. Keep going. The truth is closer than you think." How had this gotten here? Clara was gone, yet the note felt alive, as if she were watching, guiding him still. Ethan clutched it, his mind spinning. What truth was she leading him to? And could he survive the scrutiny of Willow Creek to find it? The morning sun filtered through the attic's stained glass window, casting fractured rainbows across the oak floor. Ethan stood before Clara's antique mirror, the blue dress replaced by a cream-colored blouse and a navy skirt from the chest, the fabric softer than he'd expected, molding to his frame with an ease that felt both foreign and oddly familiar. The midnight blue heels clicked as he practiced walking, his steps less wobbly now, guided by a rhythm he was beginning to understand. 3 days had passed since his first day at Willow Creek High, and each morning brought a new choice: retreat to his old life or step deeper into Clara's wish. The silver key around his neck glinted, a reminder of her words: "The truth is closer than you think." School had become a tightrope. The whispers hadn't stopped. Tara Mitchell's photo had spread across social media, captioned with cruel hashtags, but Ethan noticed shifts. Some students, like the quiet girl in art class who sketched him in secret, offered shy smiles. Others, like the football players, kept their distance, their smirks fading into indifference. Miss Delgado, true to her word, had pulled him aside after history, her voice gentle. "You're not alone, Ethan," she'd said, handing him a worn book on gender and identity from her personal collection. "Read this. It might help." He'd taken it, unsure why it felt like a lifeline. At home, Clara's house was both sanctuary and puzzle. Ethan spent evenings in the attic, sifting through her journals, hoping for answers. Most were filled with travel stories, Paris, Tokyo, Marrakesh, but one entry, dated a year before her death, stopped him cold. "Ethan is like I was at his age, hiding a piece of himself he doesn't yet see. I wish I could show him it's not weakness to embrace it." The words stung, their meaning elusive yet heavy. What had Clara hidden? And why did she believe Ethan was hiding too? He began experimenting, driven by curiosity and a need to understand. Clara's chest held more than clothes, makeup, jewelry, even a handwritten guide on posture and voice modulation, as if she'd anticipated his hesitation. He practiced in front of the mirror, softening his tone, adjusting his walk, each change peeling back layers of himself he'd never examined. The wig felt less like a costume now, its chestnut curls framing his face in a way that made his reflection right, somehow. He didn't have words for it, only a feeling, like a door creaking open in his chest. School demanded more. Ethan arrived each day in a new outfit from the chest, a lilac sweater one day, a floral dress the next, each choice a silent declaration. The heels, once treacherous, became an extension of him, their click a steady pulse against the linoleum halls. He noticed how people responded not just to the clothes but to his growing confidence. In English, when Mr. Patel called on him to read a poem, Ethan's voice, softer and more deliberate, drew nods from classmates who'd once mocked him. Jamie, still wary, started sitting with him again, though his questions lingered unspoken. One afternoon, in the library, Ethan found another of Clara's notes tucked inside the book Miss Delgado had given him. "You're learning, my brave one. Look for the blue journal in the chest. It holds a piece of me and you." His pulse quickened. Back home, he dug through the chest, finding the journal buried beneath a silk scarf. Its pages were filled with Clara's handwriting, but one passage stood out. "I lived as someone else for years, hiding my heart to fit the world's mold. When I finally embraced my truth, I found freedom. Ethan, you're stronger than I was. Don't fear the mirror." The words hit like a revelation, yet raised more questions. Had Clara lived a double life? Was this why she'd pushed him toward this path? Ethan's mind spun, but a knock at the door jolted him back. It was Jamie, holding a crumpled flyer for the school's fall talent show. "You should do it," Jamie said, his voice tentative. "You used to play guitar, right? People are starting to see you differently. Show them who you are." Ethan hesitated, the journal still in his hands. The talent show was a public stage, a spotlight he'd avoided even before this. But Clara's words, "Don't fear the mirror," echoed, and he nodded, a spark of resolve igniting. "Okay," he said, surprising himself. "But I need your help." Over the next week, Ethan and Jamie rehearsed in Clara's living room, Ethan's guitar chords blending with his softened voice as he sang a ballad Clara had loved. He chose a flowing green dress for the performance, its shade matching the photograph of Clara in the attic. Practicing in it felt like stepping into her shadow, her courage seeping into him. Jamie watched, his skepticism softening into something like awe. "You're different," he said one night. "Not just the clothes. It's like you're more you." The compliment caught Ethan off guard, stirring a warmth he couldn't name. But the talent show loomed, and with it, the fear of exposure. Tara Mitchell's posts hadn't stopped, and whispers of Ethan's stunt still circulated. The night before the show, Ethan found another note in the chest, tucked inside a pair of pearl earrings. "The stage is yours, Ethan. Let them see your heart." He slipped the earrings on, their weight grounding him, and practiced his song until dawn. The talent show arrived, the auditorium packed with students, teachers, and parents. Ethan waited backstage, the green dress shimmering under the dim lights, his guitar strapped across his chest. His heels clicked nervously, the silver key warm against his skin. As his name was called, simply Ethan Harper, no judgment in the announcer's tone, he stepped into the spotlight, heart pounding. The crowd hushed, their eyes a mix of curiosity and expectation. He strummed the first chord, his voice rising, clear and steady, singing of loss, courage, and hidden truths. For those 3 minutes, the world fell away. Clara's presence felt tangible, as if she stood beside him, her smile urging him on. When the song ended, the applause was tentative at first, then thunderous. Ethan's eyes met Jamie's in the front row, his friend's grin wide and genuine. But as Ethan left the stage, a folded note slipped under his guitar strap caught his eye, Clara's handwriting unmistakable. "You're almost there. Find the letter in my bedroom desk." The mystery deepened, pulling Ethan toward a truth he could feel but not yet see, as if Clara's wish was reshaping not just his appearance, but his soul. The air in Clara's bedroom was thick with the scent of old books and faded lavender, a quiet sanctuary untouched by the chaos of Ethan's days at Willow Creek High. Moonlight spilled through the lace curtains, casting intricate shadows across the mahogany desk where Clara's final clue waited. Ethan's fingers trembled as he slid open the drawer, the pearl earrings from the talent show still dangling lightly against his neck, the green dress folded neatly in the attic. He wore a simple silk blouse now, its ivory hue catching the light as he moved, the silver key around his neck a constant reminder of Clara's presence. The talent show had been a turning point. His voice, his song, had silenced the skeptics, if only for a moment, but the note found under his guitar strap burned in his mind. "Find the letter in my bedroom desk." Inside the drawer, beneath a stack of yellowed receipts, was a sealed envelope, heavier than the others, with Ethan scrawled in Clara's elegant script. He tore it open, his breath catching as a small locket fell into his palm, its surface etched with a rose matching the attic box. The letter inside was longer, its tone softer, almost confessional. "My dearest Ethan, you've come so far, braver than I ever was at your age. I lived most of my life as someone the world expected, Clara, the eccentric aunt, the wanderer, but I carried a secret. For years, I hid who I was, dressing in shadows to fit a mold that never felt mine. Only in my final years did I embrace my truth, living quietly as the woman I always knew I was, though I never told the world. I saw the same spark in you, Ethan, the same quiet longing to be free. This locket holds a photo from that time. Wear it and keep searching." The attic's hidden panel, behind the mirror, holds the last piece. "Yours forever, Clara." Ethan's heart thudded as he opened the locket. Inside was a tiny photograph of Clara, younger, her hair short, her expression caught between defiance and fear, dressed in a suit that didn't quite fit her spirit. The image shook him. Clara, his vibrant aunt, had lived a life of concealment, just as he had. Was this what she meant by his truth? His hands shook as he slipped the locket around his neck, its weight settling beside the key. The attic's hidden panel beckoned, but a deeper question gnawed at him. Was he becoming someone new, or uncovering someone he'd always been? School had shifted since the talent show. The whispers were quieter now, replaced by cautious respect. Jamie walked with him between classes, his silence more supportive than words. Ms. Delgado left articles on her desk about gender fluidity, never pushing but always watching with that knowing gaze. Even Tara Mitchell's posts had slowed, her latest caption simply, "Ethan's got guts." But Ethan felt the weight of every glance, every question unasked. Each morning, he chose an outfit from Clara's chest, a burgundy skirt, a sapphire scarf, each piece feeling less like a costume and more like an extension of himself. The heels, now second nature, carried him with a grace he hadn't known he possessed. At home, he climbed to the attic, the locket warm against his chest. The mirror, heavy and ornate, stood against the far wall, its frame carved with vines. He ran his fingers along its edges, searching for the hidden panel Clara mentioned. A soft click revealed a narrow compartment, and inside was a velvet pouch containing a single cassette tape labeled for Ethan and a small, leather-bound diary. His pulse raced as he dusted off Clara's old cassette player, the tape hissing to life with her voice. "Ethan, my brave heart," Clara's voice crackled, warm but heavy with emotion. "If you're hearing this, you've found my truth. I was born Clarence, but I became Clara when I stopped hiding. I saw you, even as a child, watching my dresses, your eyes curious but afraid. You're not alone in this. Live this year for me, but more for you. The diary will explain the rest." Tears stung Ethan's eyes as the tape clicked off. Clarence. Clara. The pieces fell into place, each one a revelation that mirrored his own journey. He opened the diary, its pages filled with Clara's struggles, years of secrecy, fear of rejection, and finally, liberation in her later years. One entry, dated months before her death, read, "Ethan's heart is like mine, but he's stronger. I hope he finds the courage I took too long to claim." The words broke something open in Ethan. He sank to the attic floor. The diary clutched his chest, tears falling freely. Clara hadn't just seen him, she'd known him, in a way no one else had. Her wish wasn't a whim. It was a map to his own soul. He thought of the mirror at school, the reflection that felt less like a stranger each day. Was this what she meant by his truth? Not just the clothes, the heels, the wig, but something deeper, a part of him he'd buried under fear and expectation? The next day at school, Ethan wore the locket openly, its rose catching the light. In art class, the quiet girl, Lily, approached him, her sketchbook open to a drawing of him on stage, the green dress flowing. "You looked real," she said softly. "Like you weren't pretending." Her words struck a chord, echoing Clara's tape. Ethan smiled, his voice steady. "I'm starting to think I'm not." That night, he sat with Jamie in Clara's living room, the diary between them. She was trans, Ethan said, the word new on his tongue but heavy with meaning. She hid it for years, then lived it quietly. She thought I might be like her. Jamie leaned forward, his eyes searching Ethan's. "Are you?" The question wasn't accusatory, just raw, honest. "I don't know," Ethan admitted, his voice trembling. "But when I'm like this," he gestured to the skirt, the locket, "it feels right. Like I'm not hiding anymore." Jamie nodded, his silence a bridge between them, stronger than before. As weeks passed, Ethan leaned into Clara's wish, each day a step toward understanding. He found another note in the diary's back cover. One last secret waits in the garden shed. The mystery wasn't over, and neither was his journey. Clara's voice, her clues, her love, they were guiding him to a truth he was only beginning to grasp, one that would change everything. The garden shed behind Clara's Victorian house stood weathered and unassuming, its paint peeling like memories fading in the autumn chill. Ethan approached it under a starlit sky, the locket and silver key around his neck glinting faintly, the silk scarf from Clara's chest wrapped loosely over his shoulders. He wore a lavender dress tonight, its hem brushing his ankles, the midnight blue heels clicking softly on the stone path. The note from Clara's diary, "One last secret waits in the garden shed," had burned in his mind for days, a final piece of her puzzle that promised answers. His heart raced, not with fear now, but with a quiet certainty that whatever lay ahead would change him forever. The shed door creaked open, revealing a small space cluttered with gardening tools and crates. A single lantern hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over a wooden box tucked in the corner, its lid carved with the same roses as the attic chest. Ethan knelt, the key fitting perfectly into the lock, its click echoing like a heartbeat. Inside was a bundle wrapped in velvet, a letter, and a small, framed mirror. The letter, in Clara's handwriting, felt like her voice reaching through time. "My dearest Ethan, you've walked the path I couldn't fully tread until it was too late. This bundle holds the dress I wore the first night I lived as Clara, truly myself. The mirror showed me who I was when I doubted. Look into it, Ethan, and see yourself, not as the world expects, but as you are. You've honored my wish, but this year was never about me. It was about you finding your truth. Live it, my heart, without fear. Forever yours, Clara. Ethan unwrapped the velvet, revealing a crimson gown, its fabric shimmering with a life of its own. He held it to his chest, tears welling as he imagined Clara wearing it, stepping into her truth after years of hiding. The framed mirror was small, its edges worn, but when Ethan lifted it, his reflection caught him off guard. The chestnut curls, the soft curve of his jaw, the lavender dress, they weren't a disguise anymore. They were him, or rather, her, a truth he'd felt stirring since the first day in the blue dress. The name, Ethan, felt like a shadow now, too small for the person he was becoming. He returned to the house, the crimson gown draped over his arm, and stood before the attic mirror. Slowly, he slipped into the dress, its weight grounding him, its elegance amplifying the quiet strength he'd found over months. The locket and key rested against his chest, symbols of Clara's love and his own journey. In the mirror, he saw not just Ethan, but someone new, someone whole. A name whispered in his mind, unbidden but right. Evelyn. It felt like a gift from Clara, a name that fit the person he'd uncovered. The next day at Willow Creek High, Evelyn walked through the halls, the crimson gown replaced by a simple white blouse and skirt, but the confidence of the night before lingered. Heads turned, but the whispers had faded into curiosity, even admiration. Jamie met her at her locker, his eyes softening. "You look happy," he said, a question in his tone. "I am," Evelyn replied, her voice steady, the name settling into her like a long-held breath released. "I think I'm Evelyn now." Jamie's smile was slow but genuine, a bridge rebuilt. "Evelyn," he tested, nodding. "It suits you." In history, Ms. Delgado noticed the locket and smiled, a silent acknowledgement. Lily, the artist, slipped Evelyn a new sketch, a portrait of her in the crimson gown, titled Truth. Even Tara Mitchell approached, her phone absent for once. "You're kind of a legend now," she said, almost sheepish. "Sorry about before." Evelyn nodded, forgiveness easier than she'd expected. That evening, Evelyn returned to the shed, needing to feel Clara's presence one last time. She lit the lantern, sitting with the mirror and gown, and wrote in Clara's diary, adding her own words. "I found it, Clara. My truth. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't." As she closed the diary, a breeze stirred, carrying the faint scent of lavender, as if Clara were there, smiling. The year wasn't over, but Evelyn knew she'd continue, not for Clara, but for herself. She enrolled in college, choosing a path in music, her guitar a constant companion. The heels, the dresses, the name, they were no longer a challenge, but a home. Clara's wish had been a map, not to her life, but to Evelyn's, leading her to a truth that shone brighter than fear. As she stepped into the world, the silver key and locket at her heart, Evelyn felt Clara's love, a guiding star in a sky no longer clouded by doubt.